Okay, folks, this is a video where we are talking about 5 orchids we love to hate. Orchids that we love, that we can't live without, but they are difficult and they give us fits. Now, one such orchid is Encycia mariae. Now, primarily because this is a mountainous orchid, and it is from the mountainous region of Mexico. I think it's Sierra Madre, maybe. I'm not sure, but they are used to more or less cloud forest conditions, cloud mountain condition of cloud forest, where it's a lot more cooler, intermediate throughout most of the year. They get reliable sun and humidity. They like perfect drainage. They don't want their roots to be wet and soggy, just like Encycias or Prosthekias. But they do like a reliable source of moisture. And once they are finished their growth, they like less water, but they like that continued humidity. They like the light. In fact, they can stand more light in the sun in the wintertime. And the drier conditions usually initiate flowering, which occurs in spring. But as I said, these are very susceptible to many things, susceptible to heat, susceptible to overwatering, susceptible to bugs and pests because of the very fineness of the new foliage, and the mealybugs and scale just love them. So it is something that you have to stay on top of all the time. Now, fortunately for me, this has done okay. I've had this for about a year and a half, and it did bloom last year, and it is continuing to put up those growths. The really difficult thing about this plant is how to maintain it in the wintertime. Whether or how to maintain the perfect balance of water and humidity and light. It's really kind of difficult to figure out this plant because they do like it drier. So on the air, you should always err on the side of caution with this plant, unless it is actively growing. But as the temperatures drop, then this should go, it should be given cooler temperatures. In the winter, push it closer to the window if it's in a greenhouse, and then give it less, but it still wants that humidity. And it does want a little less humidity at the beginning of spring. Other plants that have been fairly difficult is this right here, Oeoniella polystachys. This is a South African Angraecum, but it had been reclassified. I think it might have been an Angraecum at one time, but it has since been classified into its own species or genus. And again, the difficulty with this plant for me has been how to maintain it beyond blooming or just beyond repot, or just how to maintain it to keep it alive. I have had little success. This is the first time, actually, that I've ever had a plant of Oeoniella polystachys that got new roots and lots of roots. And I'm not sure about the growth, but I am pretty sure that those are new leaves. Again, this is a vining type of Angraecum that has numerous arrow roots, and it likes perfect drainage. This is really just bare root in there, and I've got a little moss hanging out so that the roots can get it if it wants. Luckily, it has been able to get dehumidity at once this summer. It will be an issue come wintertime, but I'll figure that out soon. Again, the flowers come in the spring, late winter, sometimes into summer from the nodes, and they can be fragrant, very small white flowers with a spur. But again, it has been a difficult plant to maintain beyond 1 year or two. So we will see and we will pray and hope. All right. Moving on along. Another plant that has proven difficulty is, of course, one that I swore off of, but I somehow have managed to maintain a live plant for about a year now. This is Angraecum distichum, which of course is a Madagascan angricoid. It is a succulent-like vining type, very flat. Again, this plant has proven has proved to be difficult for me, just because it is difficult to maintain the adequate water versus drainage versus just what it likes. And I've tried everything: mounting this plant, potting it, semi-hydro, and every time it has failed. I've watered it like my others. I've put it inside away. I've had it on my kitchen sink and starved it, didn't water it at all, and eventually the leaves just all fell off one by one. So this is the longest that I've had this plant. It has not rebloomed, but I want to think that it has put up some new little leaves, maybe on some of these growths. I want to hope it gets little white flowers from in between the leaves. You can kind of see where it has bloomed previously. But there again, this has been sitting in this position in shade where it is just sitting in that water. So we will see. Another something that is definitely a trouble plant, for me at least, has been these antelope types. Now, the problem that I've had with antelopes is, beyond overwintering them, there is a point that you have to repot them. And as you know, with dendrobiums, they are very susceptible to drying out, not giving them enough water. Do you water them at all, and do you wait until they produce pseudobulbs, and then when the pseudobulbs are a certain length, do you begin to water? There's always that dilemma. But beyond looking up the culture, the culture, yes, but their environment, their native environment, which is where you will find the best information. My experience with these has been really difficulty with repotting. So what has worked for me has been to not fully repot, but to tap it out of the pot and set it in another gently and put fill media in the pot. Pot it up a bigger pot is what I mean, or these like lots of water. So you really need to make sure when you repot them that you're either going to set them outside where they'll get rainwater, or you need to soak them for hours each day and letting them drain for a few hours before putting them back in the water. That is how you will maintain the vitality of the older canes, because they're still capable of blooming and putting up spikes. So that is my advice on these antelope types, because they can be somewhat finicky as far as repotting them and getting them back up to health. So, what else, folks, is difficult? What else is an orchid that we love to hate? Or me, love to hate? I would say a lot of people love to hate these Phalaenopsis giganteas. They are reputedly slow growing and hard to get going. But I think once you master a few easy principles, those kind of things can be a little easier to get these plants through the repotting process and new leaf process and keep them moving rather than stalling. Again, we're talking about the Phalaenopsis gigantea, which is from Borneo. And these are known, of course, as the largest Phalaenopsis leaves. They can get up to, 3 feet long, but they bloom a lot smaller. But anyway, that's another video. The last plant that we love to hate is this one right here, Epigeneium, treacherianum. Now, if you're like me, you've had too many of these plants that have all rotted away. And for some reason, I've had this one all summer. It has managed to put up a new growth that has matured. It had a pseudobulb that was maturing. I believe it's this one. So, as soon as I got this, I placed it here, which it gets rain and it is low light, although it gets some sun in the middle part of the day, early to middle part of the day, and then nothing. But it gets a reliable amount of water, and because it is in this material, which is what it came in, which is big pieces of pumice bark. But you can see the moss, which means that it gets a lot of water, but it is free draining because these pieces there's more perlite in here than there is the bark. But anyway, that seems to be the secret. Now there again, the big test is in wintertime because these cannot stay out here. So we will be checking back in on how they do. But anyway, folks, that's those 5 right now. 5 orchids we hate but love and can't live without. Thanks for watching.